Welcome back to Baki Hanma in Total Drama Action. The pre-merge was volatile, having 4 teams and all 22 contestants returning. There has been heartbreak, betrayal, and plenty of pain, but now we turn to the merge where 11 contestants face off alone and without teams. Let's begin with episode 16. Baki's team has immediate tension as Izzy glares at Lindsay and Lindsay sticks her tongue out at Izzy. Tyler whispers to Baki that it seems like they don't get along. Baki says that they're like 2 wild beasts preparing to strike each other at any moment. Tyler says, right. Tyler asks Harold if he's noticed that Baki is kind of in his own little world, and Harold says he is the apex of human capability. Of course he's in his own world. He doesn't need to think normally like us. Tyler asks if he's okay, and Harold says of course he is. He's had his style beaten time and time again. Tyler tries to comfort him, but Harold says it must be nice. He can just power through anything, but not him. He needs to work twice as hard for anything. Tyler tells him that that's not true. Harold's style is incredible. He only won because they both had boxing gloves on. Harold tells him that he might be right, but right now he just needs to be alone. Tyler feels awful and begins to see Baki in a more sinister light as he wonders if Baki even considers him a friend since they're so far beneath him. Justin tells him, okay, it's time to chill out, before spraying water onto himself, catching Izzy and Lindsay's attention and snapping Baki out of his trance to tell Justin that was a good pun. Lashawna, Courtney, Gwen, and Duncan are talking about a potential alliance at Merge. Lashawna tells Duncan that she ain't willing to get rid of Harold, and Duncan says that Harold's more powerful than all of them. Duncan only gets so many nut shots until Harold will learn how to counter it. Courtney says that's true, and Lashawna says no, we don't eliminate Harold. Not until all the others are gone. Duncan says it's a deal then, and Courtney and Duncan kiss while Gwen tells Lashawna it's good to work with her. Lashawna says they're getting to the finale this time. Team DJ leaves and Gwen asks Duncan if he truly believes Harold can learn to beat him, and Duncan says, what, are you stupid? Of course not. I just said that because it made the alliance possible. In the challenge, teams are revealed to be disbanded. Duncan in confessional says that he loves when a plan comes together. They'll run the merge soon enough. The challenge is a spy movie challenge requiring contestants to get a heavily guarded package, escape an exploding building, and then defuse a stink bomb. The first 2 parts easily go to Baki, causing everyone to ask how they can even compete against him. For the final part of the challenge though, Baki is completely still, not moving a muscle as he doesn't know how to defuse a bomb. Lindsay's able to get the right one by some miracle, and Lindsay's bomb doesn't go off. Lashawna asks if she really got the right one, and Tyler cheers for her. Chris then chimes in and says that all the bombs are different and everyone gets hit by the stink bomb. Chris then tells Lindsay that she has a choice. She can either take normal immunity and be immune from the vote, or she can take the reward of a cheese factory, take someone with her who will be immune from the vote, but they can't vote. Lindsay says she wants to go to the cheese factory, inviting Tyler with her. Chris says that they've gotten their answer. Everyone else get ready for their ceremony. Justin asks Harold and Sadie if they'd like an alliance, and they agree to join one since they're pretty desperate right now. Justin asks if they should get Baki, and Harold says screw Baki. If they keep respecting him, they won't win this season. Justin says he completely agrees. Courtney, Gwen, Lashawna, and Duncan are talking and come to one conclusion on who to vote for. At elimination, Chris tells him that one of them will be going home, and sadly, it's pretty unanimous. Baki, you're out. Baki says, dang. Well, you got me. I wasn't really expecting that. Harold says, yeah, we're done worshipping the ground you step on. Duncan fist bumps him, and Baki says that he's happy he stopped. Now they can push through that mental block and fight him with all they've got in the future. He lets them know that he hopes he can fight all of them someday. Please tell that to Tyler and Lindsay as well when they return. Harold is shocked by his grace and in confessional says that he remained in his own world to the very end. Maybe we're the evil ones. Sadie is ecstatic and talks to Harold, saying she finally eliminated someone off of Team Baki, and it was their leader nonetheless. Next they should target Lindsay. Harold tells her to hold on. He was down to vote Baki because he was a threat, but Lindsay hasn't done anything to him. Sadie says hasn't done anything. Lindsay played with Katie's emotions. Harold says that he dismantled Heather's manipulation, and yet she still believes her lies. Sadie says that she doesn't know. Heather said she liked her when she left. Harold in confessional says he should have teamed up with Baki. At least Baki has a brain. And Justin tells Sadie that Harold will never understand her. How can he? He just gets opportunities. Sadie has to earn everything. Sadie says she agrees wholeheartedly. Harold is so arrogant. Lashawna goes to Harold and tells him that she has an alliance. Currently, he saved him to the final 5, but they need to team up. Harold says it's about time. He was kind of disappointed she didn't do it last episode. Harold says he has Justin and Sadie on his side, and Lashawna says those two may be good, but watch out. She's not sure she trusts Justin. Harold says no, it's fine. Justin proposed the alliance. Lashawna says okay, she really doesn't trust Justin. Lindsay and Tyler come back, and Lindsay says she had no idea Tyler was lactose intolerant. Tyler says yeah, where's Baki at? that. As everyone remains silent, Tyler realizes what happened and says, "Oh," before walking away and sitting down crying with conflicted emotions as he wanted to test himself on Baky before he left. Lindsay asks if he's okay. This is what he wanted, right? Tyler says it's stupid. He wanted this for so long and yet he never expected the pain afterwards, and without the two of them being there to protect him, it was cowardly, not what Baky stands for at all. Chris tells everyone that the next challenge is going to be the superhero challenge. Courtney asks if he's okay and Chris says yeah, he's fine. Chef in confessional says that Chris and Tokugawa sat on the phone crying for hours last night after the elimination. Little babies, I miss them too and I'm not crying. The first part has them designing costumes with Lindsay winning, and Courtney should win the obstacle course part of the challenge. Harold wouldn't win because though he's more impressive, his base stats haven't improved all that much yet. He just knows technique. Tyler wouldn't win because Tyler can throw a punch safely, but he's still Tyler. Izzy wouldn't win because she's Izzy, though she is more motivated than before. I doubt it would break the gap, and I could see Izzy failing because she was a villain instead of a superhero. Courtney gets a deal. She can go on a reward with someone of her choosing but forfeit both of their votes since they won't be at the elimination, or she can take regular immunity. Courtney says she'll take regular immunity. Chris says fine, you missed out. Today was a gladiator duel with it being all our interns versus Chef. Chef says wait, what? I didn't agree to that. Chris says well, you're lucky it didn't happen then. Before elimination, Harold tries to get Tyler into an alliance, but Tyler asks him plainly, did you vote for Baky? His aura is insane, becoming like a weight on Harold's mind. He can't lie out of fear and just says yes. Tyler's aura fades and he simply tells him to leave then. He won't vote for Harold, but he won't work for him. Harold asks if that includes Lashana and Tyler doesn't answer and Harold leaves, realizing he isn't wanted right now. Tyler says, oh, one more thing. If you get Lindsay to join you, I don't care how many times you throw me, I'll make sure I land a good hit. Harold says right, knowing the dangers of his punches firsthand. Lashana asks if Tyler joined him and Harold says no, but he and Lindsay won't vote against them. Lashana asks if it's because of Baky and Harold says yep. Lashana says that's good news then, that means he won't work with anyone. Izzy hears it and in confessional says she didn't vote for Baky. She knew this would be needed, so she voted for herself. She goes to Tyler and tames him like a wild beast, telling him that he knows how angry he is over Baky. She didn't vote for him. Let's work together and punish everyone, which Tyler would agree. The alliance of Courtney, Gwen, Duncan, and Lashana all agree to vote for Tyler, but Lashana gets Harold to flip and pick who she thinks Tyler and Lindsay are gonna vote for in Duncan, but Izzy gets them to vote for Gwen instead. It is completely petty on Izzy's end, but Tyler agrees since he knows she voted for Baky as well. Meanwhile, Justin and Sadie vote Harold, so in the end it's a 3-3 tie between Gwen and Tyler. The challenge would be one person being the superhero and one the supervillain, and the superhero has to catch the supervillain. Gwen is able to use her dirty tricks to try and get an edge, like throwing sand and dirt into his eyes, but Tyler just continues walking like he's the Terminator, scaring Gwen, who ends up running and cornering herself. Gwen has one more trick, and as Tyler comes close to catch her, she delivers a kick into his jaw, causing him to recoil in pain before locking in, grabbing a hold of Gwen with his vice grip, telling her to stop, she's lost. Gwen realizes this is true, and so Tyler moves ahead while Gwen leaves. As she's walking, Duncan tells her not to worry, he'll make it to the finale. Gwen says ever since DJ left, they've become worse. Duncan asks what she means, and Gwen says it's nothing. The fairy tale challenge begins with Courtney being dubbed the princess. Courtney and Duncan both feel like Lashana flipped, but they can't prove it. Justin and Sadie both want to figure out a way to eliminate Harold, and Sadie asks if Justin can talk to Izzy, and Justin says he really hates Izzy. Sadie asks if he'd rather talk to Lindsay and risk Tyler's wrath, and Justin says good point. The second part of the challenge has contestants needing to cross a drawbridge, and Justin, Duncan, and Harold make it. If you want to know why Tyler doesn't, he's Tyler, and he's not going to do well without his 5 senses. It took all his aura not to fall over against Gwen with all of his senses. In the next part, the same events as in canon happen, but when Justin is about to betray Harold, Harold sees it coming and he uses his skills to flip Justin and throw him off the monster, allowing Harold to stab it and climb the tower to get to Courtney. When he's given permission to fight Courtney, Duncan yells if he hurts Courtney, he will kill him. Lashana says not to worry, he'll protect him from Duncan. Courtney tries to throw a kick at Harold, but he uses her momentum against her and throws her off the tower where Courtney barely grabs the ledge. Harold points the sword at her. Courtney says, whoa, I'm done, I quit. Harold looks to Chris for an answer and Duncan begs Chris to end it. Chris says fine, Harold wins. Harold is given the offer to take immunity or a reward that will give him and his partner immunity but will take them away from the elimination. Harold takes the reward and Duncan and Courtney are shocked. This is the worst case scenario for them. They just have to hope that nobody else is in an alliance. Harold obviously takes Lashana and Justin is able to establish an alliance with Izzy, allowing Courtney to be voted out since they don't think Duncan is that impressive compared to her. Duncan knows he needs to get rid of Harold. It's his fault for all the bad things that have happened here. Kureha shows up to talk to Duncan while he carves a skull into a tree. He says that he thought he would just be here to patch up the contestants' injuries, but Duncan has intrigued him. Duncan says he's glad he showed up. His style doesn't rely on force, does it? The way you healed Owen's jaw, you can hurt as well, can't you? Kureha says he's quite astute, but does he have the patience to learn his style? Duncan says the facts are facts. He saw Gwen fall to Tyler. Logic says Harold could do the same. Kureha says that he agrees. It won't be easy to learn it, but he has about a week until the next challenge. That should be plenty to learn the basics, and then we'll go from there if you're humble enough not to believe you're the best. This triggers a flashback in Duncan's mind to what Baki said to him earlier in the season, and he agrees, saying he just wants to beat Harold and make him look like a fool. Now, Tokugawa changed the challenge from the canon timeline. Originally, it was a mystery challenge, but they can easily shift this to a martial arts movie challenge. It'll be an 8-person tournament with the winner obtaining immunity. The bracket is Izzy versus Lashawna, Duncan versus Tyler, Lindsay versus Justin, and finally Harold versus Sadie. Izzy faces off against Lashawna, and it is the ultimate cat and mouse. If Izzy gets caught, she is done, but Lashawna needs to catch her. Eventually, Izzy is able to beat Lashawna with 1,000 cuts. Duncan faces off against Tyler. Tyler stands his ground. Once Duncan throws his punch, he will take it and throw his own. Duncan rushes in and throws what's seemingly a punch, but Tyler can't raise his hand. He wonders what happened. Did Duncan break his arm? No, his bone is fine. It was too light to break it. While he thinks about it, Duncan rushes in and takes out the other arm before asking if Tyler is finished, and Tyler reluctantly says he is. Duncan says it's sad. He expected better from him. Harold is shocked, wondering what happened, but not falling into despair yet. Justin tries to charm Lindsay, but Lindsay just punches Justin and he quickly rushes out, asking for makeup. Harold faces Sadie, and Sadie runs in with desperation before Harold just redirects her momentum into slamming her head against the wall and knocking herself out. Round 2 starts with Izzy versus Duncan. Izzy forfeits before the match. Duncan asks why she'd do that, and Izzy says this fight is too dangerous for her. She doesn't gain enough by winning to fight him. Harold is now worried as he can't believe Izzy would forfeit any match against anything. He tells Lindsay to think about this. She doesn't think she can beat Duncan, does she? Lindsay says she doesn't know. She has a mean chop. Harold says, okay, but you don't want to get punched, right? Duncan will punch you and then you'll have to get makeup like Justin. Tyler asks what he thinks he's doing, and Harold says he's trying to protect her from Duncan. Gosh. Tyler realizes the winner faces Duncan and tells Lindsay to drop out, and Lindsay sees the desperation in Tyler's eyes and agrees. Duncan says he may think he saved her, but in reality he just dragged himself down to hell. He was going to be nice to Lindsay and just place her out of the ring. But you? I'm tearing you apart. The fight starts and Duncan throws heavy punches at Harold, with Harold using his skills to redirect them and throw Duncan, but while he's being thrown, Duncan reaches out and uses his cord cutter on Harold's leg. Harold is now trapped as Duncan goes behind Harold and puts him in a chokehold before telling him he will never be on top again. Harold is slowly choked out as the reality dawns on him that Duncan isn't the same fighter he was before. He tries to think of who could have helped him, and he sees Kureha Shinogi repairing Tyler. He realizes that's who did it, and he passes out, giving Duncan the immunity win. He takes the immunity win as he still wants his vote to act as a weapon. Justin tells Izzy that they should vote off Harold, and Izzy asks why, so Justin can betray her like he betrayed Harold last challenge. Justin asks where this is coming from, and Izzy says to face it, his act is over. He's not fun anymore. Justin says, really? She'll see. This series loves me. At the vote, Izzy does not get contradicted as Justin is eliminated and is shocked. As he walks off, nobody is sad about it except for Sadie, who cries while hugging him, and Justin tells her, all right already, get off. You had more than enough time with me. He leaves, bitter that he was proven wrong. Later, Lashawna asks Harold if he has figured out what Duncan did, and Harold says he has, but he doesn't know how to beat it. It's unstoppable with his current knowledge. He wishes Shibukawa was here. He would know what to do immediately. Now, this episode originally has Owen return. I'm not doing that because the cast is big enough and the plotline sucks. The episode starts with Lindsay asking Tyler if he really is going to be defeated that easily, and Tyler says that she doesn't understand. Duncan can't just be punched, he's a step above him. Lindsay tells him not to worry, she'll show he's vulnerable to him. The challenge is a rock and roll challenge, reestablishing there's more depth to this than just fighting. They are told the first part is to play an electric guitar. Tyler tries his best but gets too into it and falls off the stage. Harold plays it so well it lights on fire, Lindsay fails, and Duncan wins the first part of the challenge by just doing nothing. In part 2, contestants must walk a catwalk and avoid the photographers, which Lindsay's able to do the best. Lindsay gets an extra 10 seconds in the third part of the challenge, destroying a room. Lindsay gets an extra 10 seconds in the third part, destroying a room. Lindsay does the best she can, but it's not great. She apologizes to Tyler, saying she'll show he's vulnerable next time. Tyler says it's fine, he will finish what she started. Tyler gets a second wind from watching Lindsay and begins destroying the room much better, but Duncan destroys things with brutal efficiency, cutting the furniture apart and cutting things so small that nobody else can benefit and try to destroy the room, meaning Duncan is the winner. Sadie tries to go back to Harold, but Harold tells her that he tried to warn her and she rejected him at every turn. Now she can leave. At the vote, it's unanimous and Sadie leaves, knowing she played a bad game, but not connecting she is at fault for it, believing Heather is right. Episode 22 is the Kung Fu Movie Challenge. There will be 2 teams of 3. One person will be a trainer and the other 2 will be the fighters. The teams are Izzy, Duncan, and Lindsay versus Tyler, Harold, and Lashawna. Lashawna is the trainer, but both Tyler and Harold are a bit worried since they have to face Duncan. Lindsay trains Duncan and Izzy, but Izzy wants to throw the challenge, wanting to get rid of this pseudo-leader when she's the real leader, not realizing that this is actually better than if Lindsay were to fight. When they face off and it's revealed it's a robot fighting challenge with Duncan and Tyler controlling the robots and Harold and Izzy facing each other, Duncan and Tyler are both a bit disappointed. In the end, Tyler is able to control the robot as if it's him fighting and he destroys the other one. They are then told that Lashawna wins immunity for being the trainer, while Harold and Tyler will now climb a mountain to retrieve a bonsai tree on top. The first one to grab it wins immunity. Harold and Tyler both are able to climb up at the same time, and Tyler becomes infatuated with Sasquatch and Aqua, wanting to test his strength against him. The 2 beasts begin punching each other while Harold grabs the bonsai tree and wins immunity. Tyler realizes his mistake and loses focus, allowing Sasquatch and Aqua to punch Tyler and knock him out. Lashawna and Harold are gifted a feast prepared by Duncan and Izzy. It's obviously not prepared well and the 2 get poisoned, but will ultimately be okay thanks to Kureha. At the vote, Lindsay convinces Tyler to leave Izzy's alliance because she's mean to her. Izzy gets Duncan and has him vote Lindsay since he doesn't really have a choice at the moment, and Lashawna and Harold vote Duncan. It's a tiebreaker between Izzy, Duncan, and Lindsay. To win, they must get a bonsai tree in another sequel to determine if they learned anything. There was an obvious weakness here as Duncan and Izzy just completely eclipse Lindsay. Now originally I thought it would be funny to keep Lindsay and eliminate Izzy, but I'm not sacrificing the integrity of the story for this joke, so sadly Lindsay loses and Tyler realizes he is now alone. Episode 23 is the Space Movie Challenge. To start off, each person gets something special from home, but Harold gets a letter from Shibukawa. He hopes it's a lesson, but it's just one sentence. Why so tense? To start the challenge off, they must stop a spaceship safely, which Harold is able to do, giving him a reward in the next part of the challenge, determining the turn order for the zero-gravity machine. Tyler says to pick him first. He knows he can do this. His durability is top-notch. Tyler is first, Harold is second, Lashawna is third, Duncan is fourth, and Izzy is last. Tyler goes first, but quickly figures out that he doesn't have the durability required to withstand G-force. Harold is next, and he would have gotten a good time if not for Scruffy, Duncan's spider, going into the G-force machine with him. Scruffy is crushed, solidifying Duncan's hatred for Harold. Lashawna goes next and gets a very solid time, gloating to Duncan, who goes into the machine and is able to last just long enough before vomiting. Izzy goes last and she dominates it with her pure insanity, winning her immunity. Lashawna asks why Harold looks so down, and Harold says that he was just hoping for more guidance, and Lashawna asks how he knows he's not guiding him, and Harold says with just one sentence. Lashawna says he never knows, his trainer is a weird dude. Harold wonders if there's a secret meaning behind the simple words. Before the elimination, Duncan tells Tyler to face the facts. If they eliminate him, Lashawna and Harold work together until the end. Even if Izzy goes next, Harold and Lashawna will still be against you. I'll give you a fighting chance in the final 3. Tyler agrees but says he wants Lashawna gone, not Harold. It'll be them in the final 3. Duncan agrees but in confessional says that the final 3 is great for him. He will definitely make sure to ditch Tyler there and then bring Harold to the finale. As a result, Lashawna is voted out and Harold can't even be that mad because he feels as if he deserves this for the backstabbing he's done to people this season. Lashawna tells Harold that it sucks she left twice, but he can still do this. Think about what it means and then beat Duncan. Harold agrees with more resolve than when Lashawna originally got eliminated. Episode 24 is the Animal Buddy Challenge. Again, this challenge is so good, but why do they ruin it by making the raccoon the best choice? Tyler gets the bear, Izzy gets the shark, Duncan the chameleon, and Harold the raccoon. Tyler and the bear trade punches, but Tyler's strength gains respect from the bear. Who knows what Tyler could teach him? He just wanted to fight a bear. Izzy has a tough time with the shark, Duncan does what he does with the chameleon like in canon, and Harold and the raccoon do advanced arithmetic. Harold wins the challenge, and the next part is getting back to camp first. Harold wins because this animal is literally just another person. Tyler tries riding the bear back to camp, but the bear keeps getting distracted by food. Duncan does well but not well enough, and Izzy is Izzy. In the end, Harold is first, Duncan is second, Izzy is third, and Tyler is last, carrying his bear after the bear fell asleep after his feast. Tyler is then told that since he's last, he will automatically be eliminated. Tyler is devastated but says he understands. Duncan tells him to cheer up. He got him to the final 3. Tyler realizes he was just a pawn and feels awful. Chris then tells Duncan not so fast. Harold gets to choose who he brings to the finale. Izzy says come on, he obviously wants to bring me. Harold says that he's sorry. Originally he would have been fine eliminating Duncan here, but it's personal now. He needs to prove his fighting style is superior. Izzy says wow, that was a mistake. Good luck Harold, you're definitely gonna need it. Duncan says that he hopes he's ready to lose in front of everyone, and Harold says he will find a way to beat him. The finale ends up the same as in canon, with Harold and Duncan making it at the same time and requiring a jury vote to decide a winner. Duncan is voted by Gwen, Courtney, Justin, Sadie, Bridget, Jeff, Cody, DJ, and Heather. The rest vote for Harold minus Izzy, who votes for Explosivo. This means it comes down to Baki. Baki begins by giving a speech. He tells them that they've had a good time this season, had a lot of betrayal, strategy, and drama. Duncan, you lost your leader early. Speaking of which, DJ, how's your mom? Him and Retsu taught the creep who did it a harsh lesson. Get this, he came all the way from Japan to find Retsu, and Mama gave him a run for his money. Baki says he's glad to hear that. Now the question for you two is, did you both grow and learn new things? Duncan says of course he has, and Harold says yeah, of course. What kind of question is that? Baki says sorry, I just wanted to set it up for what will determine who I vote for. Who would win in a fight between you two? Duncan says obviously him, he already beat Harold once, and Harold says one fight doesn't decide anything. Tokugawa shows up and says that they should fight here then. Whoever wins Baki's swing vote. Duncan says good idea, and Harold agrees to the fight. Harold starts the fight rushing in, intent on ending it before Duncan can end it. Unfortunately, when Harold gets in and flexes his hand by grabbing Duncan's collar, Duncan uses his cord cut technique, getting rid of Harold's left arm from the fight. His move doesn't attack the bone, since Kureha wasn't fixing them when he watched him fix up Tyler. He was fixing the muscles or the nerves, which when flexed like Tyler needs to, can snap like guitar strings when wound too tight. Harold finally pieces it together and realizes the note Shibukawa sent wasn't just a question, but advice on how to beat Duncan. He needs to relax so the strings in his body can't get cut. Duncan asks if he's too scared to rush in. Don't worry, he'll go to him then. Duncan lunges in with precision like before, but Harold doesn't tense up. He lets his body relax completely, causing Duncan's strikes to be completely negated as they need tension to cut through anything. Duncan becomes flustered and tries to throw a punch, which Harold uses the momentum and tosses him to the ground. When Duncan tries to strike his leg, he realizes to his horror that there's not a single bit of tension in Harold's legs. He's prepared for this. Duncan quickly decides he needs to go back to what he knows, and he throws a feint before aiming to hit a low blow on Harold, just for Harold to have expected such a dirty trick, and he uses Duncan's momentum to miss entirely, before Harold strikes at Duncan's neck, causing him to gasp for air. Baki gets ready to cast his vote, and Duncan looks at Baki with pleading eyes, but Baki doesn't pay him any mind as he casts his vote for Harold, and Harold wins the season. Harold is cheered on by his followers before DJ tells Duncan it'll be alright, and Duncan says yeah, it will. He almost beat Harold with only a few weeks of training compared to Harold's few months. In a year, he will be the strongest out of the four of them. Eva asks if they're forgetting about someone. She's been training too. Duncan says to let it rest. He doesn't want to fight anymore. He just lost to a geek like Harold. Harold says he's pathetic. He loses to him one time and suddenly he wants to quit. I thought you were tougher than that, Duncan. Duncan says you little. I meant I didn't want to talk about it today. I'll come back next season and eliminate you first. You better count on that. Harold says he can't wait for that. And that's the conclusion of Can Baki Hanma win Total Drama Action. This season has a lot of concepts that broke the standard Total Drama mold, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this series in general down below. World Tour is sure to be even more volatile, with all the contestants joining, plus the two newcomers in Sierra and Alejandro. Until next time, have the day you deserve.